Today we're going to talk about watering your houseplants successfully, and I use a method of teaching myself to water houseplants by planting the houseplants sometimes in a glass bottle, a fish bowl, one of those terrarium bowls. You can look at the water, you can watch it trickle through, you can see how much it takes to wet down the water and make it black. You can also see if you are pouring in too much and it puddles at the bottom. It really teaches you how. But let's look at some. Now, here's a for instance that I have Swedish ivy in a hanging planter, and this is right next to the kitchen window. There's two of them. So it gets what you'd say a lot of light. It's east facing, sun's just coming up. So I would say it's fairly strong light. That's why I used it. What I'm showing you this for is, these are cuttings I just planted, and they're in the fish bowl. So you can see the soil. Look at that. You can see those roots roaming around. They've probably been in here, it may have been as long as 2 weeks. I can't remember if I filmed that as a video or not. This can tell you it's kind of gray and light, so you know it's probably needing water. If I reach in here and put my finger in, I feel maybe just the slightest bit moist. But see, soil isn't really sticking to my finger, it's sticking under my nails. That's where you can tell it needs water. This one is a slightly smaller bowl, but in the same way, you can see the roots have formed in this one. You can see them growing down from the top plant, showing right through this glass. But anyway, that just goes to show you about how this grows in this amount of sunlight. Leaves are almost gone. And how if you are a new gardener who really is unsure about how much water to give them, here I've got a water pitcher here. And let me get this in the thing first. Poured a nice big glob into it. And you can kind of see the darkness of the soil where the water trickled down into it. And it might help you to do this some, just so you can see the water and see where it goes and what it does. I don't know if that showed there, but the water trickled right down. Okay, and over here, you can see into this a little better. The light gray and then the dark where the water did not soak into. Now later, as it disperses around, you'd probably be able to see where it went into the soil. The darkness. Now I want to show you the difference where it's very hard to tell how much light these need. I have another one planted in here in the living room. Let me show you. Now here is a plant near the front window, but I wouldn't say it gets most of its lights from the front window. I have a lamp here that does have a 100-watt grow bulb in it. And I just in the last few days added one of these grow lamps to it. But Look how nice and thick and bushy this is. This is mostly under just the artificial light of that lamp. That's just a regular floor lamp. Let me show you. See, that's in a bowl. And it's growing very, very thickly. I'll have to look at the dates that I did put these ones in to take root. But this is one several months ago that I took one of those long strings of pothos that I have, and I cut it into like 1-inch pieces, a node each. And I probably had 25 nodes to plant down in there. Planted them all. It took months, but pow, there's a whole new, very nice thick bowl. So that's where we're going. Truly, that's an outdoor thing that I got for outdoors, but never could decide on anything. So I brought him indoors before he got all rusted. And I have him in here in the corner by the front window. But anyway, that's the effect of low light on the Swedish ivy. Now, testing for to see if your plant needs to be watered. The method that is most often used in your potted plants is just to scratch your finger down into the soil and press down as far as you can manage and just feel the dryness of it. As you can see, this one's very, very dry, powdery. This is one of my flowering maples, one of the cuttings that I've done. You'd seen that in a previous video. And then over here is a asparagus fern. That one is also real dry. Now, an asparagus fern takes a lot of water, so test it, make sure it's dry. It has plump little potatoes under there that store the water, but you've got to make sure it keeps watered. And again, here's a cute tall goblet vase that again I've put Swedish ivy in. But you can tell by the feel of the leaf, it's plump, it's real stiff, and feels rigid, like you can kind of bend it. If it had all felt limp and everything, you'd know it needs water. But take a look down through the glass, make a judgment, use your finger, and you can tell when it needs to be watered. But I think that's a pretty good method. Now this one, it must be on the verge because it looks dry, the color is where it looks like it needs it, but that's what you go for. Now see these little glass planters. You can see how tiny they are. It's just roughly a tiny bit taller than my fingers. But several months ago, I don't even remember when, I planted this cutting or a leaf segment off of a Thanksgiving cactus. See all those little pointed turkey beaks? That's how I can tell the difference. It'll have more curvy things like a Santa's beard if it's a Christmas cactus. This is a little starting to get dry because you can see the puckeriness right there on the leaf. But it's doing real well, and I can see right through the glass how the soil is doing. Is the soil waterlogged? Is it dry? Does it need water? And this is just such an easy way to determine whether or not your plants need water, especially when you're doing the seedling stage. I think this is that one right there? Yeah, you can see where one didn't make it. See right there? Let me see if I can get just slightly better view of it. That one didn't make it, but this one did. And it's in really good condition. I think it's trying to make a bloom. You can see that little bud right here. I don't know how well that's going to show. Let me get it against that deeper background. It's trying to either make a bud or those new seed leaves come out right there also. But this is the one that I have on a tiny little planter that I can see right through. That's an easy way to do your cuttings. So you might want to try that. At least train yourself to see the amount of water you added, see where it trickled to, how does the surface look with the difference between the two. This one, if I stick my finger in there, it's pretty dry. Feels dry. If I look on the bottom, yes, it looks dry down there. I don't see any sogginess. Here, let me get a good hold of it. Don't see any sogginess under there. Yeah, I've made a tiny bit of a mess. But I see some lines there that are possibly the roots coming down. But time to get out my dust buster, because now I made a mess. But anyway, there we go. And now I want to show you back in late summer, early fall, before everything gets cold, I took the bigger plants out in the shade in the early evening and we gave them a spa day. I like to use these giant plants. This is, I don't know, 5-6 feet tall. And that's Miss Snake, who has bloomed for me once. I'm hoping for blooms again next spring. And the Hoya, which has bloomed almost consistently. She's now in a rest period. I only think I had 1 or 2 after this, but they love their spa day so they can get refreshed and invigorated, and unfortunately in my house dusted pretty well because the leaves catch a lot of dust. See that beautiful flower? I really love a Hoya flower. They do have a scent, not overpowering. I like it. I think it's good. But you can go through and kind of pick through, pull out dead things, take a good check for pests and the things that you do not want to carry over. Now, I don't leave them out just long enough, let's say 30 minutes after they have their spa time, and don't leave them out for very long because I don't want to attract any bugs or anything. But while they're out there, they have their manicure and, in her case, a pedicure because she has a lot of long, viney pieces. That's a peduncle that we're hoping for more blooms to come from. But sometimes the little long fronds get brown on the ends. For whatever reason, that little section dies. And I like to trim them off, get rid of them, clean her up so she looks pretty for the winter. And sometimes I just want to shape it and maybe get a little more bushiness because this one is getting so big. This Hoya, I think it's the Crimson Queen. This one is just getting too long and I don't really know what to do with it. It was in a hanging pot that I used in front of a east window. I'm sorry, a north window. Let me think a minute. No, that was a south window. I hung that in, and now I have her in an east window. She's still growing bigger and bigger and bigger. But your plants will love a spa day too. Give them a trim. Get them soaked real well and drained. All the water out of the saucer. All the water out of in this instance, I have a cache pot that the snake plant's in. Get them trimmed up. They'll appreciate it, and you'll appreciate that you really don't have to water them anymore for several months. This was let's say if this was September, I might trickle some water here this month in December, and then wait until a warm day in spring to water her again. They love it. Hope this gave you some hints on watering, and thanks for watching.